Let me set this up. Are you excited?
On
No, to talk
on
about
what?
it.
Oh, I actually there's a lot. I feel like there is a lot to talk about in this one. Um,
All right. Yeah, let's do it, man. Three, two, one, go. So, what did we think about WandaVision episode 8? Did you guys like it?
I'm of two different thoughts on it. There's a lot I love
Go.
about it from a nerd comic book standpoint, and from definitely an acting standpoint. Um, but this has some of the clunkiest moments to me in the series so far.
Yeah,
Okay.
this was the longest episode and it felt the shortest just because it was mostly like throwing together the backstory.
Yeah. And I felt like the backstory for Agatha was the part that I could have done without because it didn't really deliver on anything.
Yeah, it just said she was an old witch who figured out how to be evil.
Yeah. And it was done in such a vague manner that I almost felt like they didn't want to commit to anything specific about her.
Right.
They just wanted to fill time in because this episode table set a lot for the finale. But the rest of the episode, which is like the rewriting of Wanda's history,
Yeah.
um, I really enjoyed all the sets for her history. And it delivers on one of the things that I was worried about for the show is that we weren't going to get a satisfying reason for the sitcoms.
Yeah.
Um, while it was a basic explanation, it was pulled off really well.
Yeah, I think so too. I think it felt very sincere because a lot of my friends that don't have English as their 1st
Mhm.
language will tell me that like they learned English from what I would consider like very mundane things or like very innocuous stuff. Like my friend Pedro in high school uh, spoke better English than most people in my class. And he told me that he just grew up reading X-Men comics
Yeah,
like in Mexico. Like he just got a hold of them and started reading them. And like all the people that tell me that they learned English from watching Friends,
yeah.
like it definitely feels very tangible and believable. And I think it rings home for a lot.
Yeah,
And my
it's my case, man. I grew up like growing up in Europe. I mean, I grew up, watching American television,
Mm-hmm.
subtitled. So yeah, that's for
yeah,
sure true.
my
That
grandfather taught himself English mostly. Well, the amount of English he ended up learning, because he learned it late in life from The Price is Right, of all things. Bob Barker was
I think a
an
lot
English
of people,
teacher.
yeah, a lot of people these days. I think that's a big reason, by far the most important reason why I think English is sort of the lingua franca, the universal language right now. It's because of American television.
Yeah,
Because people watch American television. A lot of the times, it's subtitled. It's not, it's not dubbed, and people pick it up that way. Because I think French was actually it used to be it kind of replaced Latin as the lingua franca, as the common language for people in Europe and then the whole world. Like historically, I think English is it's really a big part of it. I think is American movies and especially American television.
right.
So so I think you're right, man. I think it was very believable, and I thought the whole thing explained really well why sitcoms specifically.
Hmm.
It was a good explanation. I didn't think that they were going to be able to pull off a truly good explanation because I think that was a good idea that they came up with.
And they found different reasons at different points in her life for it. Like it was comfort. Um, even after Pietro's death, when she was uplifted by Vision. Like that was it was a return to comfort. And it was a good way of showing it through different layers. And so I'm happy that we did end up getting a explanation that was more than this is just something wacky and cool that we can do.
Yeah, me too. I thought it was good storytelling. I think I don't know if that's kind of like what you guys are getting at, but for me, yeah, it felt kind of a boring episode, because it wasn't. First of all, we didn't get a new decade, and it's the backstory is sort of a boring thing, just to go back and explain how things came into place. It was like, yeah, it's not going to be as exciting as some of the other stuff. But I thought it was kind of necessary to set up the finale. I thought like structurally, like they did a good job setting it up. But yeah, it wasn't the most exciting episode. It was probably the most boring.
I think the Agatha backstory was mostly unnecessary. And this is also the first episode we get that doesn't really, well, I guess we did have one episode that wasn't set with the sitcom environment before, when it was mostly people outside of the hex. But you do lose sort of one of the hooks of the show, and it's the first episode without it. And so this is sort of a bridge to the end.
Which, by the way, that was my least favorite episode before this one.
Okay.
I think that's still my least favorite episode because I like the fact that you get to know like how she chose basically to make it sitcom themed in this episode. At least you got more from it.
Yeah.
So I think the other episode is still my least favorite. But yeah, I mean, that shows me that the heart of the show, which you don't need to be a genius to figure out, but the reason why the show is cool is because you get to go to different decades. You have different styles, and they get to play around this in the sandbox and be this weird family. I think that's what makes the show good. It's not just generic superhero stuff.
Yeah, I have a note that says, I wonder if they could have found a way to turn this into a classic sitcom clip show. Because that was always a staple of a season of a sitcom, where like an episode is just reused clips of prior stuff.
I think.
Where they have to like fill a final episode, and they're like, "Hey, remember that time we
Yeah.
all showed up at this Halloween party dressed as Chewbacca?"
Yeah.
I gotcha.
And Community did a fantastic episode once that was a clip show about stuff that had never been in any of the prior episodes.
Yeah.
And so I was just wondering to myself, was there a way to structure this within the theme of the show? And maybe there was, but this is part of the easier way to do the episode.
Well, I think that a problem that we have is that this podcast, we don't have enough viewers on this podcast. If we did, you might get a job as a writer for season 2. Someone would
if they get another season.
Yeah, they're missing out on Daniel. So if Daniel was there, I think they would have some good ideas like that one. That's definitely how they should have done it. I think that would have still, you would have gotten the sitcom theme thing. I think that would have been really cool.
As if we're gonna go with the writer bent, just for one more comment, if this isn't addressed in the next episode, because this has been an immaculately written show so far, there is something that's been bothering me. Darcy said in an earlier episode that Hayward has been tracking Vision's body within the hex. The last episode makes it seem that his Vision's body's never been in the hex, and they've always had it.
Yeah, I've been thinking about that a lot. I think that was the biggest reveal for this episode, was that there are effectively 2 visions going on. There's the vision that
Wanda creates,
and there's the vision that Sword has been trying to rebuild, which is the original vision.
Right. And go ahead.
Yeah, it's really weird that they were able to track him inside of the hex.
Yeah.
And I think it's that part is a little. I liked it because I think things are gonna come together at the end. But I thought it was a little bit predictable. But that's fine. I mean, I understand that sometimes you're gonna be, a little bit predictable if you want things to make sense.
But I don't know about prediction. I think like that to me is I hope it's not a writing mistake, that they
No,
made.
I understand what you're saying, but what I'm saying about predictable is that at the end,
Yeah,
there's going to be one Vision, and he's going to be able to get out of the hex and live with Wanda, because they're bringing his body along, and I mean it's I don't know if they're gonna subvert our expectations, but I think at this point, yeah, you're gonna have the evil Vision, and he's gonna go at it, against the good Vision, and they're probably just gonna join into one thing, and everybody's gonna live happily ever after. I think that's exactly what's gonna happen.
I will say they have actually subverted two of my expectations.
Oh yeah.
Um, the
Which
one
one?
is that they have made it official that Wanda always had her powers, that the stone only amplified it,
Right.
Yeah.
which is a big hint at her being a mutant potentially. Um,
What about the brother though? Was he a
well,
mutant
if
too?
they're related, then he probably had that. There's probably a reason behind, because she clearly affected probability with the Stark missile, which has
Yeah, yeah.
always been
A
and
probability hex.
yeah, and so that's always been a part of her powers from the comics going back to the origin. And so I was very surprised that they essentially rewrote what we've been told about Wanda up
Right.
until this point. Completely rewriting Joss Whedon's origin for her from Age of Ultron, which at this point I think we're okay with dumping Joss Whedon.
Joss Whedon
Yeah,
is the asshole guy, right?
Yeah.
Was
Yeah,
he was he the one that made Age of Ultron
Yes.
and the first Avengers
and
movie,
the
and
first?
Yep.
he's famously from Buffy and Firefly.
Oh, I totally forgot that he made the
I
Avengers
just
movie.
remember him as the Firefly dude.
I
Yeah,
remember
Um,
him as the Buffy guy.
yeah, I grew up with Buffy.
Emily and I have been watching through the Marvel timeline, and we just watched Iron Man 3 yesterday, and then we watched Avengers like the day before that. I was like, oh yeah, this was a Joss Whedon flick.
Yeah,
Um,
quippiness everywhere.
Yep. But one of the things that Emily pointed out that I didn't notice at all is that Jarvis is voiced by the Vision actor.
Yeah, Paul Bettany.
Yeah, Paul Bettany. And I absolutely didn't see that. And she pointed out, and I was like, oh, that makes absolutely perfect sense.
Yep.
Just never connected it.
I mean, Paul Bettany has always been the voice, and it's been kind of insane that he's now managed to realize the character, realize a full in-person character. Like, I felt like that was something great that they've.
I'm a little bit confused. So Jarvis, was he the butler? Jarvis?
He was the voice of Tony Stark's AI from the very first movie.
But
The
who's
very first-
Jarvis? Who's Jarvis?
Jarvis
It's
was
Tony
his
Stark's
computer.
AI.
His computer
Just
AI.
an
that he
AI.
always-
He's
Yeah.
not a real person.
No. I mean, that's kind of what like Ultron established, is that like, Tony was building all of these robobots
I think he was a
that
real
were
person.
effectively Jarvis units.
I think he was.
He was a real person in the comics, but in the first
Let me
Iron
check
Man,
it.
he had a computer that he'd always talk to Jarvis, and that was basically his automated like assistant that he created.
Really, he wasn't
Yeah.
a person ever.
No. Crazy to think that like all these years ago, that's how it started.
So I just kind of had this interesting thought as I'm skimming through the comic book wiki. With the introduction of Agatha, and at the end, they're like, she's like, I know what you are. You're a Scarlet Witch, which was probably the most expensive line Marvel has
Yeah.
ever had to pay for in a long time.
Except they don't, because Fox, they own 20th Century Fox now.
Yeah, but they had to buy out Fox to say that.
Yeah, that's true.
I think
That's why I was like, man, that's a $4 billion line right there.
I think he does
I was
appear as a person though, Jarvis. I think it's in the TV shows though.
I was thinking for just recently, like, and this is probably never actually going to happen, and it is not the case, but they could possibly be setting up for a House of M series or arc. I was like, they're pulling a lot of the characters. They've got the license rights. They've got the tools now. Like, it's probably one of the more famous, if not the most famous, like comic book arc in the Marvel universe.
Right. And within the Marvel universe, it basically reset and like reduced the number of mutants by a lot. They could use the same plot to do the opposite.
I just sent my sister a copy of House of M because she's like, "Hey, do you have any Scarlet Witch comics?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "Here, start with this."
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it seems like everything points back to House of M. Whenever you're like, where can I start reading comics for this hero? Like, House of M usually gets mentioned once or twice in any sort of article you Google. So I feel like it would be a very good jumping off point for the next phase of the MCU.
Yeah, and another thing would be, I think it was the third season of the X-Men animated series, the first one.
The 90s series?
Yeah, where Wanda and Pietro were featured heavily during an arc with Magneto. I think so. That's, yeah. Or was that the second?
I don't know if that was in the 90s. I thought that was part of Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, like season 3 or something.
Maybe. I just distinctly remember that they featured them more heavily, I think, in the X-Men Evolution show that was on Fox, was on WB actually, I think.
Okay.
Before it became CW. That was a great show that didn't get the finish.
Yeah, there's some X-Men series that I watched on the early days of Netflix that is now no longer there.
Was it the one that were in high school?
No, it wasn't that. I remember watching that when I was like a kid, but it talked about it, like covered the whole like Genosha arc.
The Genosha arc was in the 90s series.
Let me do some Google food here.
Unless I'm mix and matching because I have way too much history with these.
See here.
I'm gonna share with you guys. I'm gonna share just this guy plays Jarvis in a show.
Okay, so that's Edwin Jarvis that's the Peggy Carter character. That's a different character.
What do you mean it's a different character? He's Tony Stark's butler. No, I mean Howard Stark's butler.
Howard Stark's butler. Tony Stark has an AI named Jarvis in the very first movie.
Which I think is this guy. It's supposed to be this guy. But Paul Bettany, he did the voice. So he was like the original because that obviously came before Agent Carter. So I think they just went back and made him a real person or something, you know.
Oh no. You know what this article is reminding me of?
That's why I was confused.
Of Marvel anime.
Oh yeah. There's a Deadpool manga right now.
Really?
Yes.
I'm equal parts skeptical and intrigued. I might be thinking of Wolverine and the X-Men.
Yeah, I think that was after X-Men Evolution.
Yes. So I found this article on CBR, X-Men Every Animated Series Chronological Order. So there's the 1992 X-Men, X-Men Evolution 2003, which is where they're all in high school. And that's, I think, the one that we most remember.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that one. And it's so annoying because the finale teases like so many future plot lines and then they cancel the show.
Yeah, I mean it got canceled for no good reason because it's fantastic. It's got a cult following. Like they could bring this back with Much Ado.
Well, Disney's thinking about bringing back continuing the 90s series.
The X-Men series?
Yeah.
Well, that's a terrible idea.
Well, so long as they just forget about that final season or some other studio made it.
No, I mean it's done, man. It's done. It's a great show. Everybody loves it. You know, it's
man, X-23 was introduced in X-Men Evolution.
Yep,
I didn't know that.
They did that. They did Legion. Like they had David Haller show up. Like they did so many things well. They did Apocalypse better than the movie by far.
Yeah.
That's not super hard though.
Yeah,
I watched which is a shame because those movies were excellent. You know, the first two, First Class and Days of Future Past
yeah.
are absolutely fantastic. They're, in my opinion, they're much better than any MCU movie, you know, ever. And the MCU has like 20 something movies. So, I mean, those are really good movies. And then Apocalypse was a third compared to those movies.
I never even watched the Phoenix one. I was so annoyed.
Well, I didn't watch Dark Phoenix at first because the reviews were so bad, and I was so excited for that movie. I thought it was gonna bring back the greatness of the first two, and it didn't. It was more like Apocalypse. It's not much worse than Apocalypse. I think it's a little bit worse. It's still watchable, and the red hair chick from Game of Thrones, she's very
Sophie
good.
Turner.
Yeah, but and she looks the part, and she was
Yeah.
actually pretty good in Apocalypse. But yeah, I mean, it's just not a good movie. The first two were fantastic, and they managed. Look, the Dark Phoenix thing is a weird thing because the guy that screwed up the first movie with Dark Phoenix, which was X-Men 3, he was the guy that directed Dark Phoenix. So people like to say that the definition of insanity is, you know, doing the same thing twice and expecting different results. They should start using that when they say that. They should start using Dark Phoenix as an example.
Well,
'Cause
no, Simon Kinberg directed Dark Phoenix.
I
It
think
was-
he was the guy who wrote, or he was one of the main writers in X-Men 3.
well, because he's written almost every X-Men movie.
I mean, I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that he basically tried it twice.
Yeah, I mean,
What's his name?
Simon Kinberg.
Yeah, I mean,
He also wrote Days of Future Past.
well, he did a good job with that one, but obviously he has a so if he wrote Days of Future Past, I mean, I'm sure he can write good X-Men stories. But he obviously had a problem with the Dark Phoenix arc.
Yeah.
It didn't work out.
Here's the hoping that if they ever do reintegrate and do more. I mean, they're if they're going to do House of M here and eventually get into it, I really am hopeful that this is under better care to make sure to
Hoping that it's under care than the rest of the X-Men series thus far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that.
It's such a shame because it's almost like you get teased with really good X-Men and then they squander it so bad.
Man, he was a writer for Fantastic Four as well, that is one of the worst superhero movies ever made. 2015.
Yeah,
Not
I remember the
not
2015.
the other ones. The other ones are okay. I think you haven't seen that one, right, Ian? The
The 2015 one.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, Fant Four Stick. I remember I was working at Best Buy, and there was a deal with Toshiba laptops when that movie came out, where you got a free promo code to download the movie, and originally they were going to include a copy of the Blu-ray with the laptop because they're like, well, it's got a Blu-ray drive, you know, and you got a copy of Fant Four Stick with it, so you had something cool to watch on your shiny new laptop. And they had to switch it over to a digital download because the movie did so badly that it wasn't even profitable for them to make the Blu-ray at the time they were selling this laptop and doing the deal.
Wow.
And I just remember like they sent out a memo that like if anybody buys this and they're asking about where's the like Blu-ray, you know, you can give them one off the shelf if they really throw a stink about it, but otherwise there's a promo code. And we never had an issue because nobody gave half a shit about that movie.
No. But have you seen it? Because you complain about the other ones, I think, or do you complain about this one?
I have not, and I don't plan to.
Have you seen it, Ian, or not?
No, I haven't seen it, and I am not going to watch it. There are better movies I could spend my life watching.
I think you should watch it. I think
I'm
you
not
should
going to
watch
watch it.
Well, I think you should because you complain about the old ones. After you watch this movie, you're gonna love the old. I mean, I love the old Fantastic Four movies. They're fantastic. This This is a terrible pun. But they're really really good compared to the new one.
I
The
have
new one is
basically
Gonna watch
come
it.
under the opinion, and I think it's supported, that Josh Trank, who's the director, got lucky with his first movie, and basically like this
Which
was
one
his
was that?
crash and burn moment, because he was supposed to direct a Star Wars movie, and then this movie was so bad that
What was
he
his
got,
first movie?
huh?
Was it
Chronicle,
Chronicle? Yeah, that's what I thought.
written by
Um,
another shitbag, Max Landis. Um,
that movie's a great superhero movie. Like that's the only good indie superhero movie. I don't know if that's really a thing, but that is a really cool. I don't know if you've seen it. Have you seen it, Ian? That one,
What
Chronicle.
movie?
Chronicle.
Chronicles?
Yeah, Chronicle.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Yeah, it's like a really small superhero movie, but it's actually really good. It's a really cool, like indie superhero movie. But yeah, I mean, I think it's different as well, Daniel. You know, to your point, I mean, it's very like Chronicle is almost like a short story. You know, it's almost like a short movie. It's a very short movie, actually. Like literally, I think it's less. It's under like an hour and a half. I think.
well, it was the last. It's the last found footage thing that I moderately enjoyed.
Yeah, it's kind of a cool. It's very different though. That it's very different from making an actual, you know, blockbuster superhero movie. You know, I mean, it's yeah, like you said, you know, you can get lucky with one little thing that you do that is right, that is cool. You know, the actors are good. It was kind of an original idea, but I mean, it was hardly even really a full movie. It was like an extended, you know, short movie. I think it's under an hour and a half.
Hey, I'd like more movies like that. I
Yeah,
watched a
right.
movie earlier today that was, I enjoyed it a lot, but it was like 2 hours. I was like, I didn't even realize that.
Let me see. But no, I mean Fantastic Four, that was yeah, it's 83 minutes long. Maybe if
Yeah,
you
I'm not gonna watch that.
but I mean anyways, let's
I
stop
could clean
shitting
out
on
my garbage
Fantastic Four.
disposal.
We'll
I
we'll
could
we'll,
um
we'll shit on Fantastic Four some more next in the next
yeah,
podcast.
trying
But
to think of things that would be more fun.
yeah, but I think if we're gonna talk badly about Fantastic Four, you guys should definitely watch the new movie just for the sake of it.
I think there
Then
will.
you'll have a lot more
I
ammo.
think that'll be something that we'd have to only get to if there's truly nothing else to watch. Which
I still haven't watched like Endgame.
Well, I mean, personally, I think those movies are kind of crappy. So I don't know.
But
Maybe you should watch it. It's kind of the end game of the story. That's why it's called End Game.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm working my way up there. I still got a bunch of Spider-Man movies to watch. And like those will be good. I'm not gonna waste my time with watching crap movies.
I don't like the Spider-Man movies, the new ones. I
I
love
would
the.
much rather play a crappy video game.
They're a lot longer though. Video games are a lot longer. You guys,
Yeah, but I don't have to finish one. I
after
can
we're
just
done with
enjoy
this,
it and be like, well, that was fun. Now I'm gonna delete this thing forever. And then I can move on. Like Shaq Fu. I played that a couple weeks ago and it was great.
Shaq Fu, yes.
so so what did you think, Ian? So Daniel didn't like the whole wizard thing, the sorceress thing. Did you like that? Harkness? I get the
Oh,
Harkness.
with Agatha?
Yeah.
No, I definitely agree with Dan that like her origin story in this episode felt useless. Like it didn't explain anything other than, well, she's a witch from Salem, Massachusetts, who's probably achieved immortality or life steal, and she's evil. Surprise. That's it. That's literally all we learned from that.
Well, I thought it was kind of cool. I mean, it wasn't
Nah.
like terrible. I mean, it wasn't amazing, but I wouldn't say I disliked it.
I mean, maybe it
I thought
sets her
was
up as a parasite of sorts, and maybe that's why she wants to know more about Wanda. But like, I just didn't feel like it was necessary. I would have rather spent more time with Wanda.
Well, but it was necessary for them to explain a little bit, what she was, because that was the cliffhanger of the last episode was now Agnes is behind all of it. And I agree with you. I mean, it could,
Well,
the Agnes thing was certainly underwhelming, but
then a better explanation.
yeah, better explanation would be nice.
Yeah. Something else that I felt like they sort of subverted for me. I was very convinced midway through this episode that Hayward was going to turn out to be Mephisto and be like, because when she goes to Sword and asks to see Vision, and he's all like, yeah, like lets her see everything. I'm just like, he's really pushing her into her grief here. I felt like he was manipulating her there. And they didn't go with that. They go with him creating the White Vision, which is a comic book character. Yeah.
Should we do some predictions for the next one? Because I know that's really your favorite part, Daniel.
I mean, I was wrong. I mean, the only thing I might have gotten right is that this episode was going to be a drama. It wasn't going to be a sitcom because we were done with sitcom.
This episode was kind of difficult.
Yeah. I would say we still have to have, I feel like there's a twist still coming. And I don't know what it would be, but I think I still am not giving up my suspicion of another force being involved. But this episode pretty much like 99% of the way got rid of my sus that Wanda is 100% the creator of the hex.
Yeah, she is. But I don't know if they were going to talk a little bit more about Agatha Harkness being kind of behind it, Well,
I don't think she's behind. I think she's behind all like the sort of stuff that have been sort of getting in Wanda's way in this. I mean, she's been trying to figure out Wanda this whole time.
Yeah.
But
maybe we'll get a little bit more clarity.
I actually do wonder if we're going to have a bit of like.
Oh, what happened? Wait a second. What happened to Quicksilver? Did they say?
Yeah, this is a reason why I was like, I kind of feel like we got no Monica or Quicksilver in this.
Oh yeah, Monica was not in it either. So that's a big gap. We didn't get any of that.
I mean, we didn't even see Vision this episode.
Other than like the flashback, yeah, other than
flashbacks and his corpse.
Yeah, and so this is why I was sort of like, you said that this was a longest episode, but it felt like we didn't get enough with it. I think that was part of it, is that we had like half of the cast is MIA.
True, yeah. I mean, we'll get them in the next episode, but yeah, you're right. Yeah, I want to see what the whole Quicksilver thing, because maybe you're right that Quicksilver is, one of the people behind it. I don't know.
Well, I mean,
I think that's weird.
Agatha says she's responsible for Pietro, which I'm very glad they allowed someone to say something like that. Like, I feel like that's purely usually a writer's thing where they're like, Pietro, or they would say stuff like that. But the only other show that I remember them doing something like that was Fringe.
Which is a stupid name, by the way. Is that his name in the character in the comic?
No, but that's like he's fake Pietro. She called her Pietro, and I was just like, that's so stupid and silly, and I'm glad she said that. But the only other show I know that did something like that was Fringe, that I can remember, where the alternate version of Walter was called Walternate. And
because Pietro is a Latin name, is an Italian name, and
well, I mean, it's a combination of fake and Pietro. It's meant to be a play on the word.
No, but I mean the name Pietro in itself is very stupid for that character. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
It's a like Southern European Italian name, and their fake nation is clearly like based on Eastern European. Nations.
Yeah, but I mean, I would say that's also like a pretty familiar concept for a lot of immigrant families or families that want to, move to America, is they will name their children something very Western. so they don't get discounted on job applications.
Well, but Pietro is not Western. I mean, not Western as American. But also, I mean, I don't mean to like shut down your point, but I think also they were born in whatever country they're from, like
Sokovia.
country, Sokovia.
I
Yeah,
keep wanting to think Latveria,
I know.
especially with that Doom arc.
because I think I mean I might be wrong, but I think like in that scene that we see the bombs and everything, and they're talking to their family before that. I think that's still in Sokovia, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he was definitely born there. I don't know. It's a stupid thing. Is I'm like language stuff bothers me because it makes that makes no sense. But
Well, I mean, I think they're clearly dropping the accent for Wanda from here on out anyway.
Well, I mean, it came up a little bit, and
also, yeah, the accent is a problem.
Agatha mentioned it. She's like, "There's that accent again."
Mhm.
Yeah, but you can't even. Yeah, I mean, it's stupid.
I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that was well done in this episode, but everything that was well done was really subtle, like the accent thing, and how like they talked about it a few other times, like when Tommy and Billy are like, "Mom, how come you don't have an accent?"
Yeah, and they still
I
haven't
think-
explained it.
Sure, like I've got this like nice little headcanon that now that we know, her coping mechanism and like fixation / like comfort has always been American television. It kind of lends to the notion that she would appreciate having and portraying a Western accent just as a comfort
I mean,
for
she can
herself.
fly, and yet she drives a Buick.
Yeah, right. Like it's just like an American thing. Like why wouldn't she fly?
We'll go with it.
Yeah.
So what about? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I would say that like the one I'm still my only reason why I'm not dropping any suspicion on like I'm not leaving it behind entirely is I still find it Vision bought a house or bought a plot of land like that actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
Part of me still is holding on to hope that that's still a ploy to manipulate, like to push her grief further. And so if I have a prediction, it'll be that we are going to see that Vision did not do that. But I think what we are actually going to get
think Shield baited her out.
Yeah, or Sword
Sword.
What I think is the most likely thing is that we're going to get Agatha and Wanda having to fight the fake, the White Vision.
Oh, together as friends?
Yeah, I definitely see White Vision going in and being the climactic villain for there's one episode left, two?
Yeah, one.
Okay, so I definitely see him being the climactic villain here. I don't know if he's gonna fight normal Vision or what, but he's definitely gonna be the antagonist.
He might fight everybody, don't you guys think?
Yeah,
I think for sure Wanda and for sure Vision. I think for sure those two. I don't know.
I'm also just so excited to see what this series sets up to.
Yeah, I mean, clearly it's going to lead into.
I'm hoping they're not just like, stay tuned for Doctor Strange, because I want it to be something that we don't know about yet.
Mm-hmm.
Like as a fan base, I'm still really, really hoping for a big reveal. And I think if whatever the reveal is, it'll be way more exciting because there's been 9 episodes of build up to it.
Yeah, sort of like The Mandalorian setting up some of those other Star Wars shows.
Right. I mean,
yeah, like setting up Luke coming back. Everyone was like, what? Like that was insane. And I forgot about it until you just mentioned it. But now I'm excited for it all over again. That we're going to have CG Mark Hamill.
CG Mark Hamill.
Yeah. I bet Mark Hamill was even excited. He was like, I just got a check in the mail and I didn't even know what they were billing me for.
He's he's this is like the Renaissance Mark Hamill. Mark Hamill is like pop culture hero now.
Yeah, it's the hot young Mark Hamill.
He's even hot and young again. Yeah.
And they got rid of his facial scars.
Yeah, no scars. He's like just good looking, young again. I bet he's confused,
No, Mark Hamill knows. He's been around. He used to live in freaking San Diego, so he can go to Comic-Con all the time. But I would say that for what would be set up, I feel like it does not necessarily writes itself, but like, you know, Doctor Strange is Sorcerer Supreme, supposed to be the most powerful magic user, but Wanda is there. There's gonna have to be something where like he seeks out the one person who probably potentially can exceed him, given the fact that she can channel, manipulate chaos, which is a whole nother breed of everything.
Chaos is like the force in this.
Well,
yeah, I guess I didn't understand the properties where she's like, you use chaos magic. And I was like,
right.
I wish
Again,
I could be like, I understand like the mechanisms of chaos magic in this lore, and I just don't.
I don't.
Right. So this is where I wish we don't just have one episode left, because like
I think
there's a lot to
could
tie
use
up.
a little bit more. These episodes are pretty short, and I feel that it's going to be hard to wrap this up at this point.
Yeah, I feel like that again, that was the clunky stuff that I was like, as a comic book fan, I'm like, okay, yeah, cool, yeah. But then I'm like, but you kind of gave an obtuse explanation for Agatha, and then just left us with, you're a Scarlet Witch because you use chaos magic. Okay.
Yeah,
We've barely had magic really be a focal point in Marvel at this point, because it's pretty much just been Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
So
I think it's tough. Yeah, you guys are right that they kind of like left out a lot in this episode, and if you only have, I would be okay with it if they had 2 episodes left, but I think 1 episode left, there's not going to be enough time.
We might be okay with this in retrospect, though. They might just be ready to really have
maybe. I doubt it though. I doubt
an
it.
impressive finale.
Yeah, there's too much stuff though.
Well, my only reason for worry is that it's common in my view that the Marvel stuff don't have good finales. The best part in most Marvel movies and most Marvel content is usually the first 2/3 of a movie. Mostly just because they usually don't have a second act, and then because they don't have a second act, the finale usually seems rushed. At least how I've seen them. There's like only a couple movies I felt like have been really well constructed from the beginning to the end.
Yeah.
And it's not that they're bad. It's just that like the ending is just usually, oh, that's the logical ending. Okay.
Yeah.
Guardians of the Galaxy and the Winter Soldier are the movies that I feel had like really solid beginning, middle, and end.
The Winter Soldier?
Huh?
The Winter Soldier, you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of the best for sure.
Civil War nearly stuck the ending as well.
Yeah.
I say nearly because somebody, I felt like an important character should have died like they did in the comics and that, but
Civil War was the best Avengers movie, really, in my opinion. It just wasn't called Avengers, but it shouldn't have been called I mean, who cares? But
isn't it called Avengers Civil War?
No, it's just Captain America Civil War.
It's not really a Captain American movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's more like Captain America versus Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which I mean, that is kind of how it develops in the comics, and
right
up until Captain America gets assassinated by Crossbones.
But in the comics, it's not called Captain America.
No, but it is very heavily a Captain America storyline. It's very focused on him, and it ends with his assassination by Crossbones. All
right. Well, should we wrap this up for the fans at least? Any final remarks? Well, obviously we'll be back next week to talk about the finale, but
I think I've given my final remarks. I want to see what you guys get.
Yeah, this episode was 48 minutes or 47 or something like that. And I feel like it was largely squandered for a lot of backstory that just like, I don't know. This episode went really fast for some reason. And I think there's still a lot of questions that need to be answered. I don't think all of those questions are going to get answered in the final episode. Like how, like, what about Tommy and Billy? Like, are they actually Wanda's kids? Like that we don't know. I think there's, a lot with the magic, especially, that has not been fleshed out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that's going to get the resolution that a lot of people are really looking for. But I'm still hopeful. I think, like, I've enjoyed the whole series so far. I would say this is probably the weakest episode. But I think it's going to finish on a good note, and I'm still super excited for the reveal at the end.
Yeah, I'm actually more hopeful that this will stick a landing. We just won't get all the answers, and maybe this is, again, since this is helping set up other things down the line as well, which I might have my gripes with, but this has been the Marvel successful model, how they've is.
Yeah, I guess if back to your previous question, to also wrap it up, my big prediction is I'm going to make two predictions. Either the reveal is going to be an X-Men based reveal, or it's going to be a Doctor Strange based reveal.
Mm-hmm.
The smart money, I think, is on the Doctor Strange reveal, but I think it would be super sick if they did an X-Men reveal, because they bought out Fox. They spent a lot of money to get Fox, and they can do it. Like, they have the tools now. And I would be genuinely excited if they, like, overhauled the X-Men. And this is kind of,
and nobody,
I think, like, a lot of ways, this is really, like, the chance to do it.
And nobody really cares about the Doctor Strange thing, because we already know there's.
Oh, no, I disagree with you on that. I think a lot of people care about Doctor Strange.
Well, not so much about the reveal, though. I mean, everybody knows that there's going to be a Doctor Strange movie, one that's probably going to be in it. I mean, they can announce it, but it's not like it's anything really new. That's what I mean.
I mean, I think they did a good job with the movie of taking a character who is liked in the comics, who hasn't had a lot of notable storylines apart from his origin, but have left a lot on meat on the table for some pretty good movies.
Doctor Strange, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting. I'm personally not a huge fan of the first movie, but I what I meant was I don't think that reveal, is going to have a lot of strength. Like an X-Men reveal, I think the internet will go bonkers if they reveal like a Spider-Man. Like
it'll be a hell of a way to kick off the Disney Plus Marvels with a
movie or a TV show.
With an X-Men reveal, like that would definitely.
Oh yeah, just the reveal alone, I think that would be huge.
Like if you have Patrick Stewart just suddenly like show up for some reason, like
the nerdom is gonna go. Whoa!
Like I said, I think that would be way cooler if they had Patrick Stewart Magneto show up and he's like, "We need to talk," and then like just cut and roll credits.
Yeah.
Like that would be sick.
That would be amazing. Well,
but more than likely, I think Benadryl Cucumber Patch is going to show up and be like, "What's all this?"
Probably. That's probably what's going to happen.
Yeah. I just made the mistake of Googling Doctor Strange 2 and looking at the billable cast, and based on the Spider-Man related talent that they're pulling into this movie, I really think they're just going to recalibrate Spider-Man going forward instead of the X-Men. So there's a little bit of spoiler related research.
We'll see. Let's wrap it up. Thanks for watching, guys.